Ever get that feeling like you're just constantly on the hunt for those bits of info that can like totally shift your perspective, especially when it comes to those big, really impactful issues we all face?
Yeah, totally.
Well, that's exactly what we're doing today. We're going deep on a recent study, and it's exploring a truly surprising connection, I think, between the bacteria in our gut and Alzheimer's
Oh,
disease.
wow. Yeah, Alzheimer's is a huge one, right? It affects so many people. Well,
Hmm.
and it has such a devastating impact on memory and people's independence.
Absolutely. And that's precisely why this research really like caught my eye. It's looking at Alzheimer's from this unexpected angle, the gut-brain axis, as a potential key to maybe even helping slow down this really, really tough illness.
Right.
Now, I think for a lot of people, the idea that what's happening in our intestines could have any effect at all, let alone such a profound effect on our brain, might seem a bit out there at first.
Yeah, it's not the most intuitive connection, but the more we learn about the incredible complexity of the human body, the more we realize how these seemingly separate systems, like the gut and the brain, are actually deeply intertwined.
Right.
The gut-brain axis is like a prime example of this. And honestly, it's pretty remarkable how much recognition it's getting now in shaping brain health overall.
Okay, so let's actually jump into the study itself. The researchers used mice that were like specifically bred to develop symptoms that mimic Alzheimer's in humans. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. These mice are like an incredibly valuable model. They allow us to really carefully observe how the disease progresses and then test out different ways we might be able to intervene.
Right.
It helps us build a foundation of knowledge.
Got it. And the intervention in this case was this probiotic cocktail. Now, this wasn't just, your average probiotic from the grocery store, right?
Oh, no, definitely not. It was way more specific than that. It was a very carefully designed blend of 10 different strains of bacteria that are naturally found in the human gut, 5 lactobacillus strains, and 5 enterococcus strains.
Okay.
These bacteria are known for being, well, they're good for gut health, and they can help modulate inflammation throughout the body. It was a
Interesting.
very precise intervention.
Yeah, that makes sense. And these mice were given this probiotic blend every day for 16 weeks, so that's a pretty long time. What did they actually see after all that time?
Well, they found something pretty remarkable. The mice who received this probiotic treatment, they had way less buildup of those amyloid-beta plaques in their brains.
Wow.
So these simple gut bacteria were able to, you know, actually tackle one of the core physical hallmarks of Alzheimer's
Yeah.
in mice, of course, but still. It's a pretty potentially game-changing finding.
Yeah, for sure. Those amyloid beta plaques, just to remind everyone, those are those sticky protein clumps that are, really characteristic of Alzheimer's, right?
Exactly.
And this reduction in plaques, it wasn't just anywhere in the brain, it was in a very specific, important area, right?
Yeah, that's right. They saw the biggest decrease in those plaques in the hippocampus, which, as you know, plays a vital role in memory formation. And it's actually one of the first areas of the brain to be affected in the early stages of Alzheimer's.
Wow, so that's already a huge finding just on its own. But the article also mentioned improvements in the mice's cognitive abilities too, right? It wasn't just about clearing out those plaques.
Exactly. The mice who received the probiotics, they actually performed way better in a variety of cognitive tests compared to the mice who didn't get the probiotics.
Okay.
So this suggests that the probiotics weren't just clearing out plaques, they were also having a more broad, positive impact on brain function, maybe even slowing down that cognitive decline we see in Alzheimer's.
Fascinating. And it seems like, inflammation really played a central role in this whole thing. We hear so much about inflammation being connected to all sorts of different health
Oh,
problems.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
It sounds like Alzheimer's is no exception to that.
Not at all. There's this thing called neuroinflammation. It's basically like an overactive immune response in the brain.
Okay.
And it's recognized now as a big driver in how Alzheimer's develops and progresses. It actually contributes to damage in brain cells.
Right.
This study found that the probiotics were actually effective at reducing this neuroinflammation in the mice's brains.
So, if I'm following correctly, this reduction in inflammation wasn't just in the brain itself, it was also seen in the gut.
You got it. They also found that there were fewer signs of inflammation in the gut itself, and even in the bloodstream of the mice who got the probiotics. And they have a pretty interesting theory about why this is.
Oh, okay. Tell me more.
So basically, they think the probiotics help to strengthen and improve that lining of the gut.
Hmm.
So it creates a better barrier.
Okay, so a healthier gut lining means those inflammatory molecules are less likely to leak out and cause problems elsewhere.
Precisely. By fortifying the gut barrier, you're basically preventing those harmful molecules from getting into the bloodstream and potentially triggering a system-wide inflammatory response that could reach the brain.
That makes a lot of sense.
Oh, and they also found that the blood-brain barrier was working better too.
Right, the blood-brain barrier. That's that other crucial defense mechanism that protects the brain from all the stuff circulating in the blood.
Exactly.
Okay, now, the study also discovered something really interesting about the differences between how the male and female mice responded to the probiotics.
Yeah, that was fascinating. They both benefited from the probiotics, but the male mice seemed to experience slightly stronger improvements in certain areas.
Oh, really? Like what?
Well, for instance, they found that a specific inflammatory marker in the brain called IL-1 was significantly lower in the male mice who got the probiotics. IL-1 is a pretty potent, pro-inflammatory cytokine. So seeing it go down specifically in the males suggests the probiotics might be having a more targeted impact on inflammatory pathways in males. They didn't see the same level of reduction in the females.
Interesting. So even with the same probiotic cocktail, the biological response could be different depending on whether you're male or female.
That seems to be the case. They think it's possible that the biological pathways affected by the probiotics, they might operate differently in males and females. And this could have really big implications for how we design treatments or prevention strategies in the future. We might need to tailor them differently for men and women.
Right. Now, of course, and the article makes this point very clear, this research was all done on mice. So we can't just assume we'll see these exact same results in humans, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Mouse models are super valuable, but there are definitely differences between mice and humans.
Right.
Still, though, these findings are pretty compelling. And they add to a growing body of evidence that suggests gut health could play a significant role in how well our brains function.
Right.
And maybe even in how resilient we are to these neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's.
So this research isn't some kind of miracle cure, but it does point towards a potentially promising direction for prevention strategies down the line.
Definitely. If future trials with humans back up these findings, then it's possible that probiotics could become a regular part of a bigger, multifaceted approach to preventing or delaying Alzheimer's.
Right.
I mean, yeah, imagine if just taking a daily probiotic, something that's relatively cheap and easy to do, could help, along with other healthy lifestyle choices.
Yeah.
Like eating a good diet, staying active, challenging your brain.
Right.
It'd be a pretty simple thing people could do to be proactive.
It really does highlight this shift that's happening in Alzheimer's research, like the article talked about. It's moving more and more towards prevention and early intervention, instead of just focusing on trying to reverse the disease after it's already advanced.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a much more hopeful way to approach this incredibly challenging disease. We haven't had much luck developing treatments for late-stage Alzheimer's. But focusing on prevention and exploring promising avenues like this gut-brain connection definitely gives me some optimism for the future.
It's still pretty wild to think about, though, right? That something as seemingly unrelated to the brain as the bacteria in our gut could actually have a huge impact on brain health, especially in the context of such a complex disease like Alzheimer's.
It's amazing. It just shows how intricately connected all the systems in our bodies are, and how those connections can be pretty unexpected. This research might be early, but it definitely offers a hopeful perspective. Maybe nurturing our gut microbiome could be a way to help maintain brain health as we get older.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? If our gut and our brain are really communicating back and forth like the study suggests, what other seemingly unconnected parts of our biology might be playing a role in our health?
Yeah.
I mean, what other keys to understanding and addressing these complex health challenges might be out there just waiting to be discovered? That's a pretty profound thought to leave everyone with. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Of course. It was a pleasure.
And we'll see you next time.
See you then.